Hey everybody, it's Tommy Canali and welcome to Before the Lights podcast, the show to find out how those in sports, music, and entertainment made their mark. Today we're joined by a college basketball coach who was most recently at Air Force Academy from 2012 through 2020. He has spent 26 years as an assistant coach. He's the first Air Force coach to beat two ranked teams in the same season. He also owns 3 of 4 wins of Air Force versus ranked opponents. A Pittsburgh native, born in Duquesne, Pennsylvania, and an overall great guy. Please welcome to the show, Coach Dave Pilipovich. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. And before we get going, today's show is sponsored by Reflection Bay Golf Club, located in the heart of beautiful Lake Las Vegas. Go to reflectionbaygolf.com. That's reflectionbaygolf.com. It's a top 100 course the public can play. It's a Jack Nicklaus Prestige signature design that played host to the Wendy's 3-Tour Challenge from 1998 through 2007. And DP, next time you come in town, bring the sticks. I'll take you out there. The round's on me.
I would love to do that.
Have you played out there yet?
I have not. I have not played out in Las Vegas. I've been out to Las Vegas many a time. Too many, probably. But I've never played golf out there.
Oh, yeah. We got to get you out here and play some golf for sure.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question, because
Sure.
I'm a big Las Vegas guy. I've been there 3 times since the pandemic, probably heading for my 4th maybe to come out. But favorite sub sandwich in Las Vegas?
Favorite sub sandwich?
Yeah,
man.
This is my go-to every time I'm out there. Capriotti's.
Oh, yeah. I do love Capriotti's.
Capriotti's, and they had a 24-hour open place right across the street from the old Hard Rock, right around UNLV's campus. That was my go-to place. But every time we were out there playing, after shoot-around, we had to have Capriotti's. That was a given.
Yeah, it's a great place. Well, the first thing that came to my mind was, okay, not Subway, but I was trying to think of like some Italian place that's maybe off the strip. But Capriotti's is really good.
Yeah, great food out there, though, right?
Absolutely. Vegas has got great food, and I don't think it gets enough credit for how good food we got out here.
I know, especially when you get off the strip, some of those hidden places, really, really good.
Yeah, for sure. So let's kick this one off and go through your stories, so to speak. Tell me, Coach, where did your love of hoops start? Was it as a young kid?
Yeah, probably when I was growing up in Duquesne. We had a pretty good high school team back in the day. I think I was 9 or 10, 1974. We had a team, the high school team, that went to the state tournament, lost in the semifinals. And they were just really, really good. They only had one Division I player, but the town was shut down to go watch them play, and they were just really, really good. And I went to watch them play many a times. Obviously, go to all the games if I can get there, however I get there. And I said, I want to play. My biggest dream was to play high school basketball, not college or anywhere. It was to be like those guys. And eventually got to play. Started I think in 5th and 6th grade, some youth leagues, and then our first school team was 7th and 8th grade, and we just worked our way on from there.
And is it true that as a young child or as a teenager, whatever, did you live above a bar?
Lived above a bar. My wife and I were talking about this the other day because we have some friends who are sending their children to college for the first time, whatever college looks like today. And she said, how about you? I said, I was just so happy to go to college because I had a bigger bedroom. I mean, we lived in a little apartment above the bar. I think you could roll out of bed, put one foot on the floor, and brush your teeth in the bathroom at the same time. That's how small it was. So, yeah, my mom and dad owned the bar for 36 years, and I actually tended bar. Back in the day then, you were able to be a bartender at 18. You couldn't drink until you were 21, but you can tend bar at 18. And I often tell the story that I tended bar for 4 years during the summers in college and loved it. I got a bachelor's degree and then a master's, but I learned more attending bar than I did in any classroom.
I'll bet. That's a true statement right there. What were your challenges personally as a player then?
Oh gosh, I couldn't guard the ball rack. Slow feet, lateral quickness, slow feet. I was skinny and smaller at the time, but I could shoot it. I could make some shots. So if some guys could penetrate and kick, if my defender helped off a little bit, I could knock the shots down. But I loved the game. I played it. I think I knew it pretty well. And my last option was a shooter. I was trying to get people involved. I was a pretty good team defender. But, guarding the ball one-on-one or putting pressure on it, I struggled just keeping, better players in front of me. But I loved playing it and had a chance to, play through high school and had a pretty good high school career. And then had some Division II and Division III offers and ended up going Division III because I thought that's where it'd be better for me. And I like the smaller campus. I went to Teal College. It had 900 students. In our high school, I had a graduating class of 106. So I preferred a smaller school. But the true story here, and dating myself, 1981, I was a rising senior. The summer of 81, one of my best friends in high school said, let's go to Las Vegas for the summer. His dad was working out there for his uncle who had a salvage business out there. And so we flew out in July, and that was back when U.S. Airways was strong as an airline, and they went on strike. So our 1 week stay stayed 4 weeks. We stayed a month because we couldn't get home. And we loved Vegas. We just walked the strip and go to different places. We snuck into UNLV and played some pickup games. So I applied and got accepted. And I really thought about going to UNLV and becoming a manager. And I said, well, if I could be a manager out there, because I love basketball, I love Tark and UNLV basketball. And I often think about to this day, what if I went there instead of going to Teal College? How would my life been different? But who knows?
Yeah. And the 80s and a salvage business sounds like a cover up for organized crime in that era.
No comment. No comment. I know he was doing well though.
That's right. Did you try any other sports besides basketball?
I played baseball. Love baseball. I love baseball to this day. My Pirates got no hit by the White Sox last night.
Yeah, I'm a Sox fan.
Yeah, goodness gracious. Pirates are struggling. And but love baseball. Played a little high school golf. True story. I came home. My high school teacher, my 11th grade year, was a female, Mrs. Gillespie, and she was the head boys golf coach. And she only had 5 golfers, needed 6. First day of school, she says, anybody golf? And none of us raised our hand. And she said, Dave, do you play? You play basketball and baseball? I said, no. She said, well, I need one more golfer. I said, do we miss school? She said, yes. I said, I'll play. I went home for lunch because we did not have a cafeteria. I went home for lunch, walked in a bar, and I hit the button to mute the TV. And I said, has anybody got golf clubs in their car? And a couple guys who've been there probably since 8 in the morning drinking pretty good, so they did. So I borrowed a pair of clubs and I played golf. Not very good, but I played.
That is a crazy story right there.
You got a chance that we would leave school at noon on the days we played. Probably had 10 or 12 matches. So that was a half a day of school missing. That was a good deal.
Right. Absolutely. As you said, you went to Thiel College in Greenville.
Yep.
From there, did you get into coaching, or how did the coaching carousel start for you?
Well, I went there and I didn't want to take over the bar. We were open 6 days a week, and on the 7th day, Sunday, we cleaned and we restocked and we worked. Monday morning at 5:36, my dad would wake me up when I was in high school, and we would go into the city of Pittsburgh and pick up groceries and everything. It was terrible. I mean, it was just hard work. And you just I'm not doing it. So I was going to be an accounting business major. My freshman year, we had a coach 1 year, and then he left after my freshman year. He was not asked back. And then my second year, Mike Griffin came in. He was a head Division I coach at Colgate. Came in, and I loved Coach Griffin. We were not very good. We were 4-20. But he was so good to us. He cared about us. He checked on our academics, had us over the house, and really impacted our lives. And I said, if I can do that to just one person, that's worth it. So after my sophomore year, I said, I will get my business degree, but I would love to coach. And that really set me off into the coaching path.
Did you start working right away as a grad assistant or a coach, or did you start working camps like most people did back in the day?
Well, I started working camps after that sophomore year, worked a lot of camps in the summer along with bartending. And then during my senior year, I think I wrote every coach in the country, Division I coach, Division II coach. And that was back typewriters, putting postage stamps on letters and sent them out to apply for a GA position. Some I got replies back, some I never got replies back. The standard letter, no, we don't have any opportunities. Division II school in Pennsylvania, California University of Pennsylvania, had an opening. I interviewed, went through a long process, and finally they hired me August 1st to be a GA, and that's where I started, CalPA.
Went back to those days. If you think back, did you have mentors that you were looking up to in coaching, or were you just green behind the ears and just going 100 miles an hour?
Well, the coaches I played for, it's a great question. Coaches I played for, I thought were really good. Played for Mike Griffin, and he left after that sophomore year. He went to RPI and coached there for 30-some years, Rensselaer Polytech Institute. So we had a gentleman that came in, Posey Rhodes, who was a very good player at Wake Forest, a Pennsylvania legend. Unfortunately, Coach Posey just passed away a couple of years ago from cancer, but a great guy. And he really was interesting. He was a neat guy, a neat coach, great person. And then the the coaches you saw on TV, and back then you didn't see a lot of games. ESPN just came in, but you just Saturday afternoon games and a few during the week. But again, I love the Rebels because of how they played. And they always had a Pittsburgh connection out there, from Coach Gerd to some of their players. Obviously, a Kentucky fan, no matter who was coaching there. And then Pitt and Duquesne being the local teams, Division I teams. I used to jump on a bus when I was in high school and go down and watch them play. So those were probably the ones that I followed.
When you said you wrote a lot of letters out to all the Division I, 2s, 3s in the country, and finally got a GA job at University of California, were you starting to maybe feel rejected that you weren't getting letters back or phone calls or any kind of offers going before the GA position was offered?
Yeah, you kind of get discouraged. And I went to the 5-star camp, but I never worked it. And that was your connection back in the day. The 5-star connection was so strong. And, I remember hearing Coach Pitino and Coach Gillen and, you name it, speak at those camps, and the counselors who were there who are now coaches. Fran McCaffrey was my counselor, was the head coach of Iowa now. And going back to that, I wish I would have tied in a little bit more, but I just stayed positive with it and finally got the opportunity at the Division II school. And I would recommend that because the Division II schools, they're not as fully staffed.
Yeah.
So as a GM, you're pretty much a full-time coach. You're on the floor, you're recruiting, you're doing scouting reports, you're doing everything as a full-time assistant, just not getting paid. So the experience is enormous. And I think it's a great way to get your feet wet of learning how to do everything. Now, you're not in the coaching tree by any means. You're not that third, fourth, or fifth GA at Duke that's going to get an opportunity. But I think the experience is incredible.
From there, you end up actually staying there to get your first assistant job in 1998. I assume that you just worked hard enough and the coaches liked you and you liked being there and they offered you a position to stay there. And when you got that first assistant's job, was there any other additional responsibilities that got put on top of you besides what you were already doing as a GA?
Not really, because we were doing academic checks with players. We were running study halls. We were monitoring, their class performances. So that part, we were recruiting and scouting and on the floor, scheduling, doing everything, driving the vans, washing uniforms, doing all that. And that first job came in at $6,000 a year. Gosh, I was happy. I think I had more money back then than I do now. That was exciting. $100 a month rent above a bar and restaurant, and making $6,000 a year. That was awesome, right?
You probably felt like you were on top of the world.
Oh my gosh, I thought I had it made. I had it figured out.
How did you get from University of California, PA, then to Florida Atlantic?
Well, I got hired at Cal PA by Tim Loomis, great gentleman, and how small this world is. Tim is now the head coach at Hill College, where I played. And he hired me as a GA. We're working together. We had a part-time assistant and just me. So I was basically doing the full-time work. September, I'm going on my first recruiting trip to Baltimore, Maryland on a Friday. I'm going to see a kid work out on Saturday and a couple other kids Sunday and come on Monday. And I said, Coach, I'm heading out about 2 today, if that's okay, to try to beat some traffic, get down to Baltimore. I'll see you on Monday. He said, no, you won't. I said, well, why is that? He goes, I'm leaving. I said, well, I'll see you on Tuesday. He said, no, you won't. He said, sit down. He said, I just took the job at Penn State. I'm leaving. I said, you what? He said, I took an assistant job at Penn State. I start on Monday. I said, oh, my gosh. He said, well, you're in good hands. I said, whose hands? He goes, you're in charge. Hang out for a while. Someone will get hired. You'll be fine. Give me a call on Monday, and you'll make it through. So that's what happened. And then he gets the head coaching job at Florida Atlantic. First time they had basketball. They had it 1 year. Coach left after 1 year. They were going D2. They were D2 going Division I. He took the job at Boca Raton. He offered me the only assistant's job, and I ended up going south and joining him. Probably a great move just to expand my horizons.
When you were there, you guys had some struggles. Started out at 0-21. Were you shaking your head going, what I get myself into here?
Oh, my God. Well, the first couple of years, we did win some games as a Division II. I think our first year we were 21-7. But then we went Division I. Yeah, we were 0-21. We got our first win. We beat goodness gracious, I'm catching. I'm trying to think right now. We beat Stetson at home, and that gave us our first win. And then 2 games later, we went to NC State. They picked a non-conference game right at the end of their ACC schedule. They were about 13-13 at the time. Coach Robinson was there, and we were down 21.5. We came back and won by 3. We beat NC State, so we won 2 games that year. And but we were building a program. We played probably 12 to 14 games a year, guarantee games for money. We would bring in $700,000-800,000 back in that day. The paychecks were about $40,000-45,000 a game. So we were playing everybody and anybody for money and supporting the whole program, the whole athletic department.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of my listeners understand that a lot of those programs that are low D1 spend, well, pre-COVID, pretty much the entire first semester on the road. They don't usually play a home game, maybe one, just picking up paychecks to pay for the programs.
That's exactly right. We went everywhere. Georgetown, Memphis, Memphis State, Iowa State, Duquesne, West Virginia, Tulane, USC, Florida State, Miami. Probably one of the best teams during that time. We played at Florida State. They were an Elite 8 team. Sam Cassell, Charlie Ward, Bobby Sarah, Rodney Dobart, and the Edwards kid. They were really, really good. Charlie Ward obviously was a Heisman Trophy winner. Yeah. And Sam Cassell was unbelievable. I remember playing them up in Tallahassee. Probably one of the best teams we played.
It's amazing when you're an assistant. You don't think about it when you're a head coach, because as me being a former coach and assistant, I can remember being on the bench playing at Vincennes against Sean Marion going, this dude's in another league.
And for people out there listening, Vincennes is the top of the top.
Yes.
When you walk in that facility and see those jerseys being hung and the players have moved on to play. Is that not intimidating or what?
Oh, yeah. We were beat before we got to the locker room. As soon as they saw that.
The Trailblazers. Right? Coach Sparks?
Yes, it was Coach Sparks at the time. Dan Sparks was there.
Yeah.
They were good. So
very good.
You go from Florida Atlantic, you end up being associate head coach there, and then from 94 to 96, you become the assistant at Georgia State. How did that transition happen for you?
Well, to be honest, it was a little bit of a personal situation. I got married at Florida Atlantic, and my wife was working in banking. We ended up having our first son, our only son. We have a son and daughter. Kyle was born in Florida, so we were able. Because I was working at Florida Atlantic without benefits, making minimal dollars and no benefits, a 10-month contract. 2 months during the summer, I would be in the office early and get recruiting done and do some camp work and whatever. And then I would go to a pool factory where I was out in the 100-degree heat and mixing up concrete to resurface patios and pools. And I would do that during the day and then come back to the office. So we wanted to have another child. He quit working when Kyle was born. So we went to Georgia State because we were going to get full benefits, and that's where we had our daughter. So it kind of worked out for our family as well.
What did you take, Coach, then from University of California, maybe Florida Atlantic and Georgia State? From that point in your career, what did you take from that, if anything, that you kind of use going forward?
Hard work. No matter what level you're at, those levels, you're a little bit lower. You're driving 8 hours to see a prospect as opposed to maybe getting on a plane. You're minimizing your budget to maximize your time and efforts. Just hard work. You've got to make one more call. And that's back pre-cell phones, back in tapes and different things. You've got to turn everything over. You've got to make sure you go see another kid. Get there for the first game in the morning. As you know, at the camps at 8 o'clock, you know how many times coaches roll in at 9, right?
Yeah.
Bloody eye. And you're there at 7:30 trying to get a seat for the first one and the stay for that late game that was supposed to start at 9, but it's not coming off like 10:50. So you just got to work. And any job is not too big or too small. You've got to make sure you get it done. And you want to make the day easier for your head coach. That's the big thing.
And those were the days where you just packed a suitcase in July and said, see you in August. And you went from one location to another location and, writing down notes and on legal pads and whatever you get your hands on, and then try and decipher it later on what you saw and who you liked.
That's exactly right. And many of those summers, a mutual friend of ours, I spent rooming with John Pagani. That's another story.
That's a podcast in its own.
Oh my God. That one's got to be on Showtime or HBO. We can say something.
You ain't kidding. And for our listeners out there, if you haven't heard the podcast on Coach John Pagani, go back to the episode page on the website. We interviewed him early on in starting on the podcast. Coach JP is in another class. He's a great guy, and the stories that Dave and I could tell would make your head spin.
Oh, and if I could just say one, when
sure.
John was working. John took the job at Chicago State. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's assistant at Chicago State, and he's living in the locker room.
Right.
But when he came home, I was at Eastern Michigan at the time. He would stop by our house on Sunday, just break up the travel from Akron to his family was in Akron to Chicago. He'd have dinner and eat with us, and that's big when The Sopranos would come out. So my wife Kelly would tape The Sopranos. That's back in a VHS tape, and she would either give it to him or we would send them to him. He would watch them in the locker room.
Yeah, he told me that. He goes, I lived in the locker room, they had 4 Spanish channels, so I couldn't watch TV. So my only TV was The Sopranos on VHS that came from Coach Pilipovich.
That's it.
So from God. Georgia State, 96 to 2000, you become the assistant at Robert Morris. When you got to Robert Morris, did you feel like maybe you found a home finally because you stayed a little bit longer?
Yeah, I thought so, because that was home for us. I was back in Pittsburgh. We had our 2 children, our parents, or grandparents for the kids were around, and cousins and different things like that. And then I got back to Jim Boone. He was the head coach. He was the one who replaced Tim at Cal PA, and we worked together there. And then we were reunited. Robert Morris. Jim was ultra successful, still is a Division II head coach. And Robert Morris was a good program in the Northeast Conference. They were a little bit down right now when we took over, obviously, and then we went from 4 wins, I think, and then, 4 years we went to the conference championship, won 18, 19 games that last year, and lost to Central Connecticut for a chance to go to the NCAAs. But it was a good program. It was the home of 5-star camp, as you know, so you got a great recruiting area right there to see a ton of kids coming to your campus. It was a 3-4 hour recruiting drive radius to see a lot of kids from Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, even New York. And it was a good league for Robert Morris Estill. So it was a fun job, a good job, and we thought maybe we could be there for a while.
What made you leave there to go to Eastern Michigan?
Well, Jim got offered the job at Eastern Michigan after we went to the conference tournament championship. He was offered a job there. And then the MAC in the Northeast, as you know, is different.
Mm-hmm.
Level of play, the MAC is facilities, commitment to basketball, and all those things. And I wasn't going to get a chance to be the head coach of Robert Morris. They hired Danny Nee. He just got let go of Nebraska at the time. They were looking for an older gentleman. And so we went to Eastern Michigan and tried to build some things there and play in the Mid-American Conference, which was a great experience.
What were some of your hurdles then when you first got to Eastern Michigan?
The biggest hurdle is, I didn't know this prior to getting there, Eastern Michigan and the University of Michigan are on the same road, Washington Boulevard, and they were 4 miles apart. So you were in the shadows of the Block M, no matter what. So if Michigan was playing at home and Eastern was at home, obviously people were going to Michigan to watch them play. If Eastern's playing at home and Michigan's on the road, people are staying home and watching Michigan on TV. So you still aren't getting them. Just being in the shadows, all the other MAC schools were kind of isolated in their own little campus towns, which kind of gave them the big draw atmosphere. Eastern is probably the only one that's not like that because it's right next to U of M, and it hurts it really tremendously.
Speaking of UNM, you end up going there under an assistant under Tommy Amaker from 05 to 07. How did that process happen, Coach, to Tommy bringing you on board and going into the Big Ten?
Well, we played them a few times, and obviously being close, I would go over and watch them practice and got a chance to develop a relationship with he and his staff, and he had an opening that came about, and I just thought as a progression, go from the MAC now to the Big Ten was the natural progression if we can do that, and was very fortunate to go there. They were still on probation at the time I got there, so it was still a little bit of a struggle because of the recruiting sanctions that were placed on UM, and they were just so far behind the facilities and everything at the time. But Tommy is unbelievable to work for, and to be under and learn, and it was just great experience of being there.
How was it for you then, going from University of California, PA, Florida Atlantic, you're just starting a program, you're at Georgia State, you go to Robert Morris, Eastern, and all of a sudden you're in the Big Ten?
So the biggest thing was some of those places you were driving the vans that had over 200,000 miles or old buses and eating box lunches. And the first road trip at Michigan, we used the Pistons plane. That was our plane we used for our charter flights. So we would, and if the Pistons happened to use it at the same time, then we used the Red Wings plane. So we're getting on the charter jet of the Pistons plane. You got leather couches and phones and TVs and dining like a 5-star restaurant. And I sit in a leather chair and I look up at the plate of food and the TV and I says, wow, this is a little bit different from what I'm used to.
I just took a step up in my career.
Oh my God. It was unbelievable. You thought you were the Beatles.
You were there for, like I said, a couple of years, and then Tommy gets released. First, how did you learn that he got released? And then what was your thought? I mean, did you think, where do I turn next? Or what was your thought process?
Yeah, no, it's really, he was unbelievable. Again, he is such a good coach, but even better person. That first year there, we were 16th in the country at one time. We were 16-4. We were 6-2 in the Big Ten, tied for first, and then we lose 3 players to injury, and we finished 8-8 in the Big Ten. So we go to the NIT and play in the NIT championship game in Madison Square Garden, lose to South Carolina, Ronaldo Balkman. We graduated a good bunch of players. We come back the next year, and we're hanging around 500 in the Big Ten, overall winning record. We win 21 games, but do not make the NCAAs again. We go to the NIT and win a game, and then lose to Florida State at Florida State. And kind of knew maybe that there were some rumblings and some things were going to change. It was a Saturday morning. We play Thursday, fly back from Tallahassee. Friday we're at work. Saturday I'm at home. I'm going to go in the office and we're going to hit the road recruiting. High school playoffs were in session, and coach calls and says, bad news. I just met with the AD. They're making a change. Can you come in now and let's get a chance to meet? I said, wow. So there it goes. So we go in and meet with him and then meet with administration, and it's just a tough day. And you feel like you let your boss down. You feel like you let him down because he did so much for the program, and we were so far behind the other schools in the Big Ten as far as facilities and budgets and those type of things. And then they hired Coach Beeline. He just came off, I think, winning the NIT with West Virginia, and he comes in and he offers me a job to stay. And I said to Coach Beeline, I said, Coach, I really appreciate it. Got 2 kids. I need a job, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to do it, but if you don't mind, and if this hurts me, it hurts me. I said, but my first call is going to be to Coach Amaker and ask him if he would approve. And he said, I respect that. He said, that's the guy you worked for. You're loyal to him. He goes, Dave, that means a lot to me, and I respect that. Let me know tomorrow what your thoughts are and what you want to do. And I called Coach, and Coach said, but sure, take that job. He goes, take it, and hopefully you stay and continue to work, and whatever I can do to help. That's just the type of person he is. So I stayed on with Coach Beeline for a month, but it's a little different when you're a holdover and everyone's excited about new players, new coaches, and that, and you're the lone holdover. And then the opportunity came about to come out here to Air Force as an assistant. And after weighing it, talking with Coach Amaker and even Coach Beeline, we came out here and made the move to Colorado.
What was the change then for you going into Air Force, which is a different program than I think the average person understands how that academy works?
The biggest thing was when we start recruiting, the first question you ask a prospect when you're on the phone, do you have asthma? Do you have any heart ailments? Do you have any allergies? Do you have any, are you taking any medication? Are you on ADD meds? Are you on this or that? That is so comprehensive first, the medical history, and then to get the academic transcript. Because, every kid, I'm guilty of this when I was, I have a 3.2, and then when the transcript comes, it's 2.9, right?
Yeah.
I got a 1,200 SAT, and really it's a 950. The academics are outrageous. They're Ivy League requirements. So the academics, the medical background, and then just trying to convince them that they've got to wear a uniform for 4 years. They're going to be up every morning at 6:30. They're going to march. They're not going to go to a fraternity or sorority party. They're going to be told what to wear, when to wear it, how to wear it, and what to do when they wear it. And then take, 18 to 21 credit hours a semester as opposed to maybe 13 to 15. And then obviously play basketball in the Mountain West. It's a completely different challenge. It probably takes you a good 2 years to figure the recruiting out, who you can recruit. My biggest eye-opening experience the first summer at an AAU event in Las Vegas, get to the game I'm supposed to see probably 20 minutes early, and it is standing room only, as you know. The gym is packed, and you've got every college coach in the country watching this game. So curious, I get a chance to sneak in, standing in the back and watching. I know my game's going to be next. And I'm just thinking, okay, I hope some of these people leave next so I get a chance to get a seat front and the kid sees me and all that. Not only did some people leave, everybody cleared out. The next game, it was only me and another assistant on our staff and the parents and family and the two teams playing. That shows the type of kid we were recruiting. And I said, holy hell, where'd everybody go?
Right.
There's nobody there. There's nobody there.
I must have missed something. Where's everybody leaving to? You know, it's funny. It's funny you talk about the academics, Dave, because I used to say all the time, the kids that are really good students, I didn't have to worry about their transcript because I would say, you know, what's your GPA? And they'd go, I'm a 4.0. I'm a 3.98. Yeah. They know their GPA to the number. And the kids that go, I'm like a 3.0. I'm like anything I heard like or but or around, I'm like, okay, subtract 2, and I'm probably going to get close to what they really are.
You're on point with that one. That's exactly right.
In February of 2012, you're at Air Force. Your head coach gets released mid-year, and they call you in to name you the interim head coach. What did you reflect back on right away when A, your coach gets released, and B, they're going, okay, coach, it's yours?
Wow, that was a whirlwind week because the Saturday prior to him getting released, we're at Colorado State. Now, my son is a freshman now at Colorado State, and he's a basketball manager for Tim Miles there. And we're losing the game by 20 in the second half, and coach gets ejected. He gets a second technical, gets thrown out, so I take over the last 11 minutes of the game. My son's in the locker room filming the game for Coach Miles to have everything broken down after the game. Coach Miles sends another manager into the locker room, says, get Kyle out here so he can watch his dad's coaching. So, as you know, Tim Miles, he's a pretty hilarious guy.
Yeah, he is.
So we finished that. We're off on Sunday. We had the bye week. Monday, we took another day off, and you heard some grumblings from some administration about making a change based on some different things, not as far as performance. And you hope those don't come to light. The day it happened, I had a doctor's appointment that morning, so I came in the office a little bit later. And when I came in, our secretary almost tackled me and says, so-and-so is in the office with Coach. It doesn't look good. And I said, okay, we'll get through this. And those people exit his office, which is across the hall. He walks out, walks to the mine, shuts the door, says, I've been fired. They're going to name your interim in 15 minutes. And do your best, and hopefully you can keep this job. And I said, oh, my gosh. First thing I thought was, I can't be out of a job because we got one in college and one's going to be coming to college in another 2 years. So something's got to work here.
Yeah. You started as 2-1 as a head coach in the first 3 games. You had a 58-56 win over then ranked 13th San Diego State, which was the first ever win versus the top 20 team. What do you recall back from that game?
Wow. Well, the game before that, we played Wyoming, and we just lost to Boise the first game I had, and we weren't. I don't care who we played that night. The emotions were going on. We couldn't win that game, no matter what was happening. But we go to Wyoming, and we start out 11-0. We're losing 11-0. Call a timeout, and in that game, and we're in Laramie, and they really packed it in back in those days with Coach Chiat, and I'm thinking we're going to be the first team in the history of college basketball that doesn't score a basket. We're not going to score. And as you know, when you're down like that, the assistants, you huddle up prior to talking to the team. They're scattered. They don't want to come near you because they don't know what to say, right?
Right.
So I get the team, and and how do I break the tension? And they sit down, they're looking at you, and I say, okay, we're fine, guys, we're fine. We got them right where we want them. Now they're overconfident. They got us down 11-0. They think they're going to run away, and we come back and win that game. And that kind of broke the ice for us. And then we come to San Diego State game, as you mentioned. And I'm walking into the arena prior to the game, and the San Diego State team is coming in. Coach Fisher, who's just one heck of a person, Hall of Fame coach, is walking in, and he says, Dave, he says, sorry for everything that's happened. I know it's unfortunate. He goes, I stepped into a similar situation in Michigan. I said, yeah, Coach, but then you won 6 straight, won a national championship.
Yeah, right.
He was a pretty good guy. He started laughing. He goes, if there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. Call me anytime. I'm here for you. And we hung around that game. We hung around, kept making some shots, and eventually won it at the end. And there was a great crowd. They rushed the court, and it was a TV game, and just it was so happy for the kids because they've been through a lot. For them to have an opportunity to experience that and win that game, it was pretty neat.
Then after 26 years of paying your dues, you get named head coach at Air Force in a 3-year deal. Did you get to breathe a little bit sigh of relief going, okay, I'm going to be here for a while, and finally got my own team?
You do, but when you come in during those circumstances, it's a little different, right? Your loyalties to the head coach is no longer there because he gave you the opportunity. But yet now you have to start your own program and do things a little bit your way. And it's a little challenging. And then now the staff, you're all assisting together. Now you get plucked out of that group to be the head coach. And we had a great staff. And but now you've got to make the tough decisions. And then the players that you kind of brought in after a tough game of practice and told them, hang in there, you'll be fine. You're the one maybe giving them a little bit of a tongue lashing, because they haven't done what they need to do, whatever. So you change, right? You change from the big uncle until now the dad. So there's a little adjustment period. And the biggest thing I say is there's so much else going on. You do less and less basketball because there's demands of the media, the administration, the speaking, the alumni, whatever it may be, that the stuff that you want to do that's really important to you is watch film and be on the floor and work out guys and do all that. It's hard to make time for that. And that's the biggest adjustment, I thought.
Coach, it's funny you say that because I have had some of my former players call me up and say, Coach, what do you think? I want to get into college basketball. I really want to coach. And I said, well, why do you want to coach? And if they tell me they want to coach the game, I said, go coach high school. Because in high school, you can coach the game. If you're going to go to college, I told them, I don't know if you realize this, but about 10% or 15% of what I did was actually coaching. The rest of it was wearing hats of, as you said, doing radio shows and, doing this appearance and you got to go take care of this. And, you got this person in your office and you're the dad, you're the counselor, you have all this other stuff going on. And, you don't realize it. And all of a sudden it's 2:00 in the morning and you're going, I still got film to watch. I got a practice video to get together. And, it's, if you really want to coach to the game, high school's where it's at as a young coach for me. That's what I kind of always give them as advice.
I agree with you. That's great advice because the higher up you go and then sitting in that head coach's chair, there's so many other things that you're bothered with that you have to do that takes away from just the coaching part and developing those relationships.
Yes. And then the other echelon is if you go to the NBA, then it's just coaching again, because then you don't have to worry about the recruiting and all that aspect that takes so much time. And that's the other thing I kind of brought up to them is, hey, I could get done and go, I got 2 recruits on campus that I got to go meet. I got to go talk to a family. I got to get up in the morning, got to meet one for breakfast. All those things take up your time that you're spending away from your family and from what you really want to do as coach. So if you just want to coach, start out in high school. And if you get fortunate enough and you can get to the echelon, then you get it back again. But the middle part of college, if you love that, great. I love the recruiting aspect. That's what I enjoyed. So I love the college game.
Yep. And you say there's good and bad in all of it. And it's just, but it's a big time management process.
It is. Coach, unlike most graduates, Air Force graduates, they go to serve. Yep. How are assignments done and when do they get them?
They get those assignments 100 days prior to graduation. Now they put in for their job career, their career field, sophomore, junior year, whether you want to be a pilot, go through pilot training, you want to be in computers, you want to be in business, you want to be in cyber, whatever it may be. But you actually get your location and your job assignment 100th night, and that's 100 days prior to graduation, somewhere in February, and that's where you're told where you're going to go. Now, those assignments are also divided up based on your GPA, your athletic career, your military career, and your academic career. So your tally points up through your 4 years at the academy, and everyone gets done in 4 years. There is no 5-year program of 4. You're done to 4, and so the higher rank you are, the better job you get, the better location you get. The lower you are, you're probably working in missiles in Minot, North Dakota, your first couple of years.
Does that affect them once they get their assignment where they're going as a player?
Oh, you never win that game. Never win that. It's always a Friday night, and the guys out in Vegas, they set the lines. They should know that game because you're never winning that game. It crushes them because if you are assigned, and we've had a few over the years, missiles in Minot, North Dakota, that's not where you want to be, and they're in a funk, and you've got some counseling to do to get them out of that. But that is a hard night if you don't get what you want, or if you're an aspiring pilot and that's very competitive and you don't make it, and then now you're on a waiting list, or you're really told you're not going to be even able to be on a wait list, and now you're not going to be able to fly. That really crushes them.
How long does it take you to get them out of that funk?
Oh gosh, it's taken sometimes during my time here 2-3 weeks, to be honest.
Man.
Because the whole class is talking about now, it moves on to, okay, who's going to room together? Who's going there? Let's let's get an apartment, let's get a house. We're going to be in LA at the LA Air Force Base. We're going to be in Boston. We're going to be in Florida. Not Minot. So you're hearing about all your classmates and their success of where they're going. You're happy for them, but then you realize I've got to spend the next couple of years of my life doing this, and that's not what I want. But again, that's what I got because that's how I perform.
And if you would talk to my listeners about what the players, cadets, student athletes, everything, you can put them all in one bubble, what they go through 24 hours before a game.
It's hard because you don't miss class here. Now, if you're sick, you're excused, but you don't miss. So there aren't any class checks. Everyone's going to class. But on game day, you're up at 6:30, and you're going to breakfast, and then your class starts at 7:50. And then you're taking your morning classes. Most of our athletes would not have an afternoon class period. They would have military assignments and then practice. But we only get to practice with them 2 to 5, 2 to 6 every day. So they're up early. They're going to class, and then they're marching to lunch. And then after lunch, they come down and get ready. And you got to shoot around, and you get ready for that game. Now, times you have 2 or 3 exams in that morning, or you had a paper due. Now, lights are out here every night at 10:45. They play taps and lights are out. That just means you have to be in your room. As you know, sometimes you have to be up till 2, 3 in the morning writing a paper, studying for an exam. So it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm up to 2 or 3. I can sleep until maybe 10 or 11. No. You're up at 6. You got to get up. So the biggest thing, I think, the challenges of a cadet, female and male, are sleep and then nutrition. Because your lunch is a 20-minute period. You're marching in, you're given some assignments, some announcements, and then you're eating family style for 20 minutes. And once you're done, you're out. There is not going back to the food court and getting another sub or salad or ice cream or getting a yogurt, hanging out. No, 20 minutes, you're eating whatever they got, and you better like it because that's all you got, and then you're out. So I think the 2 biggest challenges we've always faced were nutrition and sleep.
How does that differ than when you go on the road?
Well, on the road, you try to get more sleep as much as possible. We used to joke. We used to get our bus at Clune Arena, and it's a mile out to the north gate as we would head to one of the airports. And before we would get out the gate, the security gates, everybody would be sleeping on the bus. So we would try to get them as much sleep as possible in the hotels, and we would feed them as much as we can with some extra snacks, a bigger lunch, a bigger dinner, and just make sure we try to refuel them and get them rest.
Coach, thoughts for an assistant coach that's been paying their dues as you'd have and wants to be a head coach?
Be careful what you wish for. Right?
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
But I think the thing is, sometimes you see today so many young assistants, they're constantly working for that next job. Work the job you have. Work the job you have and be the best at where you're at. Make that program successful so now the head coach has opportunities and you have opportunities. Do the best you can at that program, and hopefully that'll open doors for you as well. And then I would say to them, get to know as many people in your athletic department, because the new marketing intern that just was hired 5-6 years from now, he may be an AD somewhere. The new development guy, the new assistant athletic director, the compliance director, as you know, over the years, those people have moved and developed and they become athletic directors. And now they're looking to hire a coach. Well, have an opportunity to get to know them and develop a relationship so when they do move on and they have an opportunity at their place, you're on that short list. And I think that really can help.
Yes, and I agree with you. Be careful what you wish for, because when you're sitting down, nobody's watching you. When you're standing up coaching, everybody's watching you.
Oh my gosh, it is, and everybody wants an answer right now, and it's good on 2 days of the month on the paydays, but the other days sometimes you'd rather trade them in and be on that other seat on the bench.
What's next for you in your career?
Well, since the change that the Air Force made in March, we've been shut down like everyone else. Obviously with the pandemic going on, and hopefully we get a vaccine soon and we get that back to some normal days here soon. Things will open up, but because of the limitations of jobs and not much movement in the coaching world, just sitting tight, explore some opportunities to maybe do some scouting in the NBA this coming season. also maybe some opportunities to do some TV. I talked to some TV networks to be a color analyst on some games. And as they tell me, reach back out, let's get together again in September because we just don't know what's going to be played this year, if anything. And hopefully there will be some things played, but how are we going to do broadcasts? Are we going to do them remote? Are you going to do them in your pajamas at home? Are you going to actually go to games? And what it's going to look like. So probably for this year, it's going to be a transition year for me and doing maybe some of those things. And we're fortunate to have the opportunity to maybe be patient this year, but then getting anxious and hopefully next spring things will open and would love to get back into coaching or whatever it may be with basketball and enjoy some of the things and be a part of some young people's lives again.
Well, I wish you nothing but success and the best of luck. And thank you for being on the show today. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks so much for having me. You do a great job, and thanks for being a friend and supporter, and I wish you the best moving forward.
I appreciate that as well. My listeners, please do me a favor and go to patreon.com/beforethelights, and you can be a Patreon member there where you can get the extra 5, which is coming up. Will also be the extra 5 minutes of this interview. For show notes, go to our website, beforethelightspod.com, click on episodes, and you can get show notes there. Follow us on Instagram at Before the Lights Podcast. Thank you for listening to Before the Lights. I'm Tommy Canale. Until next time, everybody, a salute, a chin chin.